Hello, my name is Nicholas Morgan. I'm an editor at Aval News, and this is Turkey Abroad. Joining me this morning is Orhan Kemal Cengiz. He's a human rights lawyer in Turkey. Orhan, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for inviting me.
So the topic that I wanted to talk to you about today is one that came up in the news not too long ago in the London Sunday Times about the state of affairs in the Turkey's very small Protestant community. It's only about, if I off the top of my head, if I remember, 10,000 members or so living in Turkey right now who are Protestants. And according to this report, they have been faced with increased scrutiny recently over there from the government, and they're seen as something of a security threat. A few of them, even if they might have lived in Turkey for any number of years, in some cases decades, they were not even allowed to return to their adopted home if they were to leave the country, or they would be given security checks when they return. But what can you tell us about this situation, since you're currently working with a few clients on this topic? Why is it that this really small community is being singled out this way?
Actually, we are not talking about here about the whole Protestant community. Uh, we are talking about foreign Protestants, Christians, who have been living here, maybe some of them 5 years, 10 years. There are some people who have been here for more than 35 years even. Uh, the story develops something like this. Uh, they don't know anything about their so-called imagined danger to the state, but when they leave the country to say, let's say, to go to the United States or United Kingdom, etc., the official at the borders warned them that they may not come back because they say, okay, there is a code which is called N82, which is a reference to a kind of threat to national security or something like that. And then this person concerned applied to the authorities through his lawyer, saying that, could you please explain us why do we have this code on this particular person? And they deny giving any clear answer. Then we bring a case before the administrative courts. In no stage during this trials, this case proceedings, you would never able to learn the exact reasons why this code has been imposed on this person concerned. They say this is a national, this is a secret, this is a confidential file. We cannot expose its content. And then across the country, all administrative courts, using cliche words, reject these cases. And the reason is this: okay, Turkey as a foreign country has no duty to allow these people to stay in Turkey. I mean, if you look at the language, you may get the impression that this person is just a daily tourist who comes to Antalya or Bodrum, which are touristic places, touristic attraction places. And then Turkish authorities decided to expel these people from Turkey for their bad behavior or something. But we are talking about people who have been living here 2-3 decades. And, but,
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the one of the couples that you're representing, they've been in Turkey for about like 2-3 decades also, haven't they?
yes, exactly, yeah. And Actually, it is worsening because before they were just waiting people to leave the country to explain this, that there is a quote on them. In one of the recent case, a couple who were invited to immigration office were arrested. A German lady and American and her American husband, they were arrested 2-3 days. They were just released after our intervention, actually. And it is so arbitrary. It is so I can't find any correct word which may meet the gravity of the situation.
Yeah,
which is happening right now in Turkey.
And as you mentioned, it's all extremely arbitrary by all appearances. Do you get the impression that this is well, let me rephrase and back up. Where do you think that this comes from? Do you think it's just local authorities kind of running amok, or do you think it's a bigger? Can you go into that a little more?
I get the question. No, it is not. It is not local digestions. It is a uniform digestion which is implemented across the country. So my understanding is this is a digestion of Turkish state, actually. This is a digestion of the state. This is not a digestion of some local agents or some officials who act on their ideological or religious references. No, this is a unified and central digestion. How can I come to this conclusion? Because I mean, in many different parts of Turkey, you can see exactly same proceedings. Were working for different people across the country. The whole proceedings, continues as exactly the same in exactly the same manner.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned that in the article. I thought this one was interesting to note, that you found that the situation, you compared the situation actually to right after the coup in the 1980s, and you mentioned in the article that you found it to be worse today than back then. Can you also tell me why?
Thank you. Actually, I was referring to military tutelage times. This is one of the favorite subjects of this government. Whenever they want to point out that Turkey has some progress, they always make a reference to the military tutelage, or the times that military has the superior, has the upper hand in political matters. This is why I make this comparison, because I believe it is really worse than these times. In the 90s, for example, in the 90s, or even at the beginnings of 2000s, when you go to court in similar cases, authorities would explain exact reasons why any court or any limitation put on this person concerned. Okay, I had similar cases before. There were some Protestants who were allegedly pose a threat to national security, etc. When I brought a case before the administrative court, back then, authorities came forward and explained the exact reasons, concrete reasons why this limitations were put on this person. So, but today, into 2020, 2021, we have a kind of secret trial. You would never able to learn concrete reasons, concrete allegations, concrete accusations against this person. They only say, okay, he or she committed some acts which are against our national interests or national security, etc. But what are these actions exactly? You would never able to learn this. In this sense, there is a huge step back in Turkey in relation to rule of law and the situation of democracy, actually.
Mm-hmm. And just to just rewind it for a second to the situation for say in the Protestant community, it brings to a lot of minds, at least, I'm here in the United States right now. So, it automatically brought to mind, and the article touched on it too, say the situation that happened with Pastor Andrew Brunson back in 2016, where they arrested him and accused him of being involved in the coup until 2018, when we had that whole diplomatic war, so to speak, between President Trump and President Erdogan to secure his release. And the Sunday Times article had an interesting description in there about how they believed, I don't know if this was based on some background reporting for them or some other source, but they believed that the Protestant community in Turkey was suffering from the president's anger over having to give up the pastor in that kind of way. Do you think that that has any role to play into it, some sort of collective punishment, or do you think that there's something else that they might have missed?
I mean, there is of course a parallelity between Brunson case and what is happening right now in Turkey, but I would put it in a different way. I don't think Erdogan is taking revenge for his so-called failure in Brunson case. He had to leave him, but I would rather put in a different way. I mean, I would say what is happening right now is just the continuation. What has started with Brunson case, actually. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think they are taking revenge. I believe what started with Brunson is just continuous right now. So my understanding is this: there is a bunch of influential people in Turkey. They are either ultra-nationalists or ultra-religious people who defined foreign Protestants as a kind of danger. I mean, they, in my opinion, they are kind of punishing so-called missionary activities. And I find this quite funny because Turkish states at a state level doing missionary activities all over the world right now. I mean, Turkish religious
authorities, mosque nearby my home, actually.
Exactly, they spend millions and millions dollars all over the world, but they see a bunch of foreign Christians as a threat. So, and in this sense, I find that this is quite dangerous, actually, because Turkey is a secular state. So a secular state has an equal distance to everyone, every religious belief, okay? But in this sense, I mean, we see Turkey prefers something over something else. Because I never seen any foreign Muslim to be expelled from Turkey for allegedly doing Islamist propaganda or something else. But in this case, so we observe a differentiated treatment towards Christians, actually.
And that's a really interesting point that you mentioned, because I hosted a podcast not long ago, actually, touching on the state of minority rights in Turkey today. and my guest had suggested that foreigners, and especially non-Muslims in Turkey, faced much higher challenges when it came to the legal system, or the way that they're perceived within certain legal norms. So you would say it's accurate then that, say, in this case, especially as the government has adopted more of a nationalist and Islamist approach to, or character for the government, that this situation is, it's accurate that these groups suffer more with the legal system.
Exactly. I mean, religious minorities are discriminated against. It is so obvious. I mean, I'm not only referring to Protestants. I mean, look at the situation of Alawites. Look at the situation of Greek minority, Jews, Armenians. I mean, it is so obvious. But the problem is this. I mean, the irony, when Erdogan kind of raised the power, back then he was trying to find ways to deal with European Union and others. He really made some significant reforms for religious minorities. But right now, the situation is deteriorating very fast. I mean, we are going back, even back to the situation before he raised the power. This is why I made some parallelities between military tutelage times, between military tutelage and now.
Speaking of how President Erdogan once was able to actually improve the state of minority rights in Turkey, and now today we're seeing this backtracking. That was all in the, that was taking place at a time when Turkey's bid to join the European Union was alive and well. It wasn't on the sort of zombie mode that it is today. And I know that you were in the process of submitting a complaint to the European Court of Human Rights on this case. What I would like to ask you is if you can tell us a little more about the complaint that you're submitting to the court, and your hopes that they'll take up this case.
There is a general rule that you need to exhaust all domestic remedies before applying to the European Court of Human Rights. I brought one of the cases to the European Court of Human Rights because I exhausted all domestic remedies, including individual application to the Constitutional Court. This means that, in my opinion, Turkish legal system as a whole failed to redress the suffering of this Christian individual. I have, of course, some expectations from European Court of Human Rights. I brought this application under Article 6, 8, 9, 13, 14. This may not hit anything for you, but they are very important articles under the European Convention on Human Rights, which are dealing with fair trial guarantees, right to family and home, freedom of religion, prohibition of
arbitrary charges, so on, I imagine.
Yeah. I made various demands from the European Court of Human Rights, and if we can pass through the initial stages, I believe we have a very strong application. And I also urge European Court of Human Rights. I said there is a pilot proceedings in the European Court of Human Rights, which is applied for cases which resemble a general problem, rather than this problems unique to this individual application. I said there is a very strong policy right now, and the human rights violations are which are described in this application are not unique to this individual. This case, in a way, resemble or exemplify a general problem in Turkey. So, handle it in this manner.
Mm-hmm. In the background of all of this, we do know that the president announced a human rights action plan of sorts not long ago. And of course, is widely panned on arrival, considering it's taking place in the background of increased arrests against, say, the HDP party, or in the case of the European Court of Human Rights, they haven't acknowledged or abided by either of the rulings for, say, Selahattin Demirtas or Osman Kavala. And, it does, of course, show on one end nice words that are coming out, but no actual action. It doesn't put the action in the human rights action plan, basically. And, with all this, I can't help but want to ask, does seeing the way that Turkey just defies the court, does it concern you that even if you can get the hearing and they rule favorably, that ultimately, the Turkish state will just ultimately ignore it anyway?
I mean, let me start with the first part.
Sure.
Yes, there is an irony. I mean, on the one hand, Erdogan trying to open a kind of new page on human rights and democracy, but on the other hand, we have this unimplemented European Court of Human Rights court decisions. And not only that, I mean, on exactly the same days, my two clients were taken into custody. I mean, a German and American couple, they were just taken into custody for nothing, for just being Christians, actually. The authority says that there is an 82 court on them. They spent almost 3 days in custody, and we interfered with in the situation, and they were released. They all are happening at the same time. I mean, I find this human rights package or human rights opening, if you like, a kind of joke, a practical joke. When it comes to second part of your question, I believe Turkey will have to implement these decisions sooner or later. They are just delaying the inevitable. There is no other chance than implementing them. So I believe if we have a couple of strong decisions from the European Court of Human Rights regarding the situation of the Christians in Turkey, the situation will be changed. And we don't have any other chance, actually.
On top of it, when this change ultimately comes, do you think it will come through, say, would it come through just more international pressure to, I don't know, implement these decisions? We know that the European Parliament and many of its members have been circulating these resolutions and everything, but of course that's politics, and that's always going to be seen as politics and likely dismissed as such by the authorities. Or do you think that inevitably the state itself will just feel like it's probably within their interest to ultimately comply?
Turkey cannot, how can I say, compensate a danger of being expelled from Council of Europe.
Yeah,
we are not a member to the European Union, but we are a founder member of Council of Europe. And if you do not implement European Court of Human Rights decisions, in the end, the final sanction is to be expelled, from the Council of Europe. Even Erdogan cannot take this risk. So they are just, they are just playing with time. They are just delaying the inevitable end result in Selahattin Demirtas and Osman Kavala cases. But I believe finally they will have to release them in accordance with the European Court of Human Rights digestant.
Absolutely. And Orhan, we're approaching the end of the program now, so I would like to thank you very much for taking the time to.
I would like to thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. I wish you the best of luck with your case, and I do hope that we ultimately see something good come out of it, and that your clients ultimately get what they deserve.
I really wish so. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Orhan, it was a pleasure to have you, and I really do hope to stay in touch on this.
Thank you.
My name is Nicholas Morgan, and this is Turkey Abroad.